Welcome back to Shaba TV, your home for everything Chelsea. Before we dive into today's update, let me just say a massive thank you to all our returning viewers. You lot of the real ones keeping this channel alive. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button right now. All right, let's get into it. This is one of those moments that makes you sit back and think, are we cursed or what? Because honestly, just when you think we're about to get some rhythm, about to build momentum, the football gods throw another curveball at us. After that Manchester United game on Saturday, there were whispers that Cole Palmer wasn't 100% fit. We thought, all right, maybe he's just tired, maybe he'll bounce back. No big deal. But now, it's bigger than what anyone expected. Palmer wasn't even in the squad against Lincoln. Not on the bench, not warming up, nothing. And when a player of his caliber doesn't even make the squad, you know something is wrong. Reports coming out of Stamford Bridge are saying more tests are needed. And here's the part that made me drop my phone. There are fears that the best way forward might even be an operation. If that happens, forget a couple of games. We're talking months. Months without Palmer, the guy who has basically carried us in moments where nothing else worked. That's the nightmare scenario. Right now, though, the short-term fact is clear. Palmer is going to miss the Brighton game at Stamford Bridge this Saturday. And that hurts more because we all remember what Palmer did to Brighton before. 4 goals. 4 in the first half. That's the stuff that makes a club legend. And now, he won't even be in the squad for the rematch. It's like walking into a war without your best general. But wait, because the craziness doesn't stop there. Beyond or not, the young star that Maresca probably would have looked to as an option in the number 10 role is ineligible to face Brighton. Yep. According to the rules, since he's on loan from Brighton, he can't play against his parent club. Honestly, you couldn't make this up. So here we are, staring at Saturday's clash, and the number 10 role is sitting there with a giant question mark above it. So what can we do to still secure those 3 points? Because make no mistake, dropping points at home to Brighton will feel like a punch to the gut, especially after that United defeat. And this is where I want your opinions. It comes down to how brave Maresca is willing to be. We got Mark Guiu sitting there. This lad came back from Sunderland after doing a great job on loan, pressing defenders, holding up play, scoring goals, showing real promise. Since he's returned, he hasn't played a single minute. Nothing. Keeping him on the bench again for another big game, it just doesn't sit right with me. Here's how I do it. João Pedro has the skill, the intelligence, the calmness on the ball to handle that number 10 role. He can link midfield with attack. He can draw defenders out of position. He can make those little clever passes in the final third. Let Pedro operate as a creator, and then let Mark Guiu lead the line as a striker. Because we all know Guiu's biggest strength, pressing defenders. This boy can hound a backline. That relentless energy is something we desperately need. Remember, aside from Liam Delap, there isn't another natural striker in this squad who presses that way. And with Delap still out, Guiu is basically the perfect candidate. Why waste that? Now, of course, there's another option. You push Enzo Fernandez higher up the pitch, play him as a number 10, and then let João Pedro stay up front. On paper, that sounds reasonable. Enzo has the passing range. He can strike a ball, and in theory, he could be creative in those tight spaces. But let's be brutally honest. Enzo hasn't been good enough this season. He's looked off pace. He's struggled to influence games. And he hasn't had the impact that we saw last season. It's painful to say, but if you put Enzo at 10 right now, are you really expecting him to carry the creative load? I'm not sure. That's the dilemma Maresca faces. Do you take the safer, more traditional route by putting Enzo at 10 and trusting his experience? Or do you take a brave, risky approach? Give João Pedro the keys to the attack and unleash Mark Guiu for his first real chance at Stamford Bridge? Personally, I'd go with the second option. We've already seen what being too cautious costs us. Remember the United game? Maresca panicked after the red card, subbed off attackers, and left us with no one up top to push the ball forward. That decision killed us. We can't afford another timid approach. And don't underestimate Brighton. Even without Palmer, even without Buonanot, this is still a team that will test us. They're smart, They'll come to the Bridge with nothing to lose, and they'll target the same defensive cracks Bayern and United exposed. That means whoever plays number 10 has to be more than just a placeholder. He has to drive the attack, stretch their defense, and make sure Joao Pedro or Gu, whoever leads a line, isn't left isolated. If I was Maresca, I'd look at it like this. Gu is hungry. He's untested in the Premier League, and he'll give Brighton defenders a problem they haven't prepared for. Joao Pedro dropping deeper makes sense because he has experience. He has the touch, and he knows how to pull strings. That partnership could work beautifully if given a chance. And let's be honest, Stamford Bridge would erupt if Gu scores on Saturday. That could change the energy around this whole season. But maybe I'm dreaming too much. Maybe Maresca will play it safe and put Enzo at 10. If he does that, then Enzo has to step up. No more sideways passes. No more disappearing in big moments. He has to deliver. Because we're not just missing Palmer. We're missing leadership, creativity, and finishing in that role. Somebody has to fill that void. So my fellow Blues, here's the question for you. What would you do? Do you trust Enzo to rediscover his form as a number 10? Or do you roll the dice with Gu and Joao Pedro together? Would you give the young lad his chance or stick with a safer option? Drop your answers in the comments. Smash that like button if you still believe we can get 3 points on Saturday. And if you're new here, subscribe because this ride as a Chelsea fan is never boring. For me, I'll say it one more time. Losing Palmer for this Brighton match is a nightmare. But football is about opportunities, and maybe, just maybe, this is the moment someone else steps up and writes their own story at Stamford Bridge. And that's it for today's update here on Shaba TV. Big shout out to every single one of you watching. The passion, the comments, the energy you bring means the world. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so more Blues fans can join the conversation. Until next time, keep the faith, stay blue, and as always, up the Chels.